Not a metaphor, not a myth, not a warning from an ancient text buried beneath centuries of dust. Something real, something measurable, something that scientists are tracking right now in real time as you watch this video. And yet, most people have no idea. Right now, somewhere in the vast darkness between worlds, a massive object is moving through space on a path that intersects with Earth. And the question that should be on every curious mind is not just what it is, but what does it mean? Before we go further, if you've ever looked up at the night sky and felt something unexplainable, like the universe was trying to tell you something, type the word "watching" in the comments right now. You'll see why that matters before this video ends. And if this is the kind of content that makes you stop scrolling and actually think, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more seekers like you find their way here. Now, back to what's coming. Throughout all of human history, whenever something massive has approached from the heavens, whether comet, asteroid, or unknown celestial body, civilizations didn't just panic. They paid attention. They read it like a message. They gathered their wisest minds, their astronomers, their philosophers, and they asked the deepest question a human being can ask. Are we alone in this universe? Or is something much larger than us in control? That question has never really been answered. But what if the answer isn't written in a book, or locked inside a laboratory, or hidden in some classified government file? What if the answer is written in the sky itself? And this object heading toward us right now is part of that ancient, unfolding story? In this video, we're going to go beyond the headlines, beyond the data. We're going to explore what humanity has known, feared, forgotten, and rediscovered about objects like this one, and why the greatest thinkers across every era believed that what happens above us is never truly separate from what happens within us. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover might change the way you look at the sky forever. Long before telescopes pierced the darkness of space, long before satellites mapped the edges of our solar system, ancient civilizations were already watching. They watched with naked eyes, with patient hearts, with a kind of focused attention that modern life has nearly made us forget. And what they saw in the heavens didn't just fascinate them, it governed them. It shaped their calendars, their empires, their philosophies, and their deepest beliefs about the nature of existence itself. The Babylonians cataloged the movements of celestial bodies with breathtaking precision thousands of years ago. The Egyptians aligned their greatest monuments, the pyramids of Giza, with specific stars, as if building permanent messages to the cosmos. The ancient Greeks gave names and stories to every wandering light in the sky because they understood something we are only now beginning to rediscover. The universe is not silent, it speaks, and it speaks in motion. When something unusual appeared in the sky, a comet blazing with a tail of light, a new star burning where none had burned before, or an unknown object drifting through the celestial order, it was never ignored. It was interpreted. Ancient astronomers and philosophers believed that the cosmos operated according to principles far deeper than random chance. They called it by different names: the Logos, the Tao, the Great Cosmic Order. But they all pointed to the same idea, that everything in the universe is connected, and that nothing moves without meaning. The Stoic philosophers of ancient Greece and Rome taught that the cosmos itself was a living, rational entity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote that a person who truly understands the nature of the universe will never be disturbed by what comes from it, because everything that arrives as part of a larger design. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, not with defeat, but with wisdom." The ancient Chinese tradition of Taoism taught a similar truth, that there is a great current running through all things, visible and invisible, and that human beings who learn to align with that current rather than resist it will find not fear in the unknown, but flow. And then there were the Maya, perhaps the most sophisticated astronomical culture the ancient world ever produced. They didn't just track the stars. They built entire civilizations around celestial cycles. Their calendars could predict solar eclipses, planetary alignments, and cosmic events with an accuracy that still astonishes modern scientists. And at the heart of their worldview was a belief that the sky and the soul were mirrors of each other, that what shifted in the heavens would also shift within the human spirit. So when we talk about a massive object heading toward Earth today, We are not just talking about rocks and orbital trajectories and impact probabilities. We are stepping into a conversation that is thousands of years old. A conversation between humanity and the cosmos. A conversation that has always carried one underlying question beneath every calculation and every myth. What is our place in all of this? That question doesn't have a simple answer. But the ancients believed, and many modern thinkers are beginning to agree, that the very act of asking it opens something inside us. A kind of awareness, a kind of humility, a recognition that we are small, yes, but we are also conscious. And consciousness, they believed, was the most remarkable thing in the known universe. Something is coming. And perhaps, just perhaps, it is not only a test of our technology or our preparedness. Perhaps it is an invitation. An invitation to remember who we are, where we come from, and what we are truly capable of when we stop sleepwalking through our lives and start looking up. Let's talk about what we actually know. Right now, space agencies around the world are monitoring thousands of near-Earth objects, asteroids, comets, and other celestial bodies, whose orbital paths bring them into the neighborhood of our planet. Most pass by silently, invisible to the naked eye, noticed only by the quiet hum of deep space radar and the careful calculations of astronomers working through the night. But every so often, one stands out. One becomes, as scientists call it, an object of interest. And when that happens, the conversation changes, the language shifts, the meetings become more frequent, and a strange tension fills the space between what is known and what is not yet certain. That is exactly where we find ourselves today. The object that has captured the attention of planetary scientists is not a small fragment of rock tumbling randomly through space. It is massive. Large enough that its arrival in Earth's vicinity is not a casual event. Large enough that its gravitational influence can be calculated, measured, and, in some models, felt. Now here is where it gets truly fascinating. For centuries, human beings have tried to understand the nature of objects like this one. And what they discovered, through both science and philosophy, is that these objects are not strangers to our solar system. They are, in a very real sense, ancient travelers. Some of them formed at the very same time as our Sun, over 4.5 billion years ago. They carry within them the original materials of creation, carbon, water, silicates, and complex organic molecules that are, remarkably, the same building blocks found in living things. Think about that for a moment. The stuff of life, the very chemistry that animates every cell in your body, exists inside these ancient wanderers. Scientists have found amino acids inside meteorites. Amino acids, the foundational molecules of protein, of biology, of you. This is not mythology, this is chemistry. This is physics. This is one of the most quietly extraordinary discoveries in the history of science. And most people walk past it without a second thought. The philosopher Alan Watts once said that we are not beings who came into this universe. We are beings who came out of it. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, a human being is not separate from the cosmos that produced them. And when you hold that idea in your mind while looking at an ancient asteroid traveling through space, something shifts. You stop seeing it as a threat from outside. You begin to see it as a piece of the same story you are part of. But let us not drift too far into the poetic without returning to the precise, because the science of these objects is, in itself, extraordinary enough to take your breath away. When a massive object moves through space, it does not move in isolation. Space, as Einstein revealed to us, is not an empty stage on which objects perform. Space is a fabric, a flexible, curved, dynamic medium that bends in response to mass. Every object with mass curves the space around it. And when a sufficiently large object moves through that fabric, it creates ripples, distortions, subtle gravitational effects that extend far beyond the object itself. This means that long before any massive object physically arrives, its influence is already here, its gravity is already touching, in the most infinitesimally small but real way, every object in its path. Including Earth, including you. Now, the practical effect of this on a human body is so small it cannot be measured by any instrument we possess. But philosophically, the implication is staggering. It means we are already in a relationship with this object. We are already, in the language of physics, connected to it across the vast emptiness of space. The ancient Hermetic philosophers had a phrase for this principle. They called it, as above, so below. What exists in the heavens is reflected in the earth. What moves in the cosmos moves in some corresponding way within us. They did not have Einstein's equations. They did not have orbital mechanics or spectroscopic analysis. But somehow, through pure observation, deep contemplation, and centuries of careful watching, they arrived at an insight that modern physics is only now beginning to fully appreciate. The universe is not a collection of separate, unrelated things. It is one thing, one vast, interconnected, breathing system, and we are not observers of it. We are expressions of it, and something, right now, is moving through that system toward us. Here is where the story deepens. Because the closer you look at what science knows about massive objects moving through space, the more you realize that the universe has been sending these travelers to Earth for a very long time. And not always with destruction. Sometimes with gifts. This is the part of the story that rarely makes the headlines. Most people, when they hear about an asteroid or a large celestial object approaching Earth, immediately think of catastrophe. And it is true. The fossil record is honest about this. Roughly 66 million years ago, an object approximately 12 kilometers wide struck the Yucatan Peninsula in what is now Mexico. The impact released energy billions of times more powerful than the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. It darkened the skies. It ended the reign of the dinosaurs. It reshaped life on this planet in a single violent moment. That is real. That happened. But here is what is equally real, and far less often spoken about. Before that same impact, the world that existed was already locked in patterns that had persisted for hundreds of millions of years. The same creatures, the same ecosystems, the same biological hierarchies. Stable, yes, but also static. And when the impact came, when the dust settled and the long winter finally ended, something extraordinary happened in the silence that followed. Mammals flourished. Small, warm-blooded, adaptable creatures that had lived in the shadows of the great reptiles for millions of years suddenly found themselves in an open world. An empty stage, a blank canvas, and from those small, frightened, surviving mammals, eventually, came us. The very catastrophe that ended one world created the conditions for another. And in that other world, after millions of years of evolution, a creature emerged that could look up at the sky, point at the stars, and ask, why? You are the result of that impact. In a very literal, biological sense, a massive object hitting Earth is part of the reason you exist at all. Now sit with that for a moment. The universe did not ask your permission. It did not send a warning that made the evening news. It simply moved, according to its own vast, incomprehensible logic. And in doing so, it changed everything. This is what the deeper philosophical traditions have always tried to tell us about change, about disruption, about the things that arrive in our lives, uninvited and unwanted and overwhelming. The Stoics called it amor fati, the love of fate. Not passive resignation, not defeated acceptance, but a radical, courageous embrace of reality as it is. Because reality, even in its most violent and disruptive forms, is always moving towards something. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the obstacle is the way, that the thing which blocks the path becomes the path. And if you look at the deep history of life on Earth, you see that principle written not in ink, but in stone, in fossils, in the geological record of a planet that has been struck, shattered, flooded, frozen, and burned, and has every single time responded with more complexity, more diversity, more life. Earth does not break, Earth transforms. And now consider something that modern astronomers have discovered in recent decades. Something that quietly rewrote our understanding of where life's ingredients come from: water. The most essential substance for life as we know it. The molecule without which no cell can function, no protein can fold, no thought can form in any brain anywhere in the known universe. Scientists now believe that a significant portion of Earth's water, the water in your body right now, the water in every ocean and river and cloud on this planet, arrived here from space, carried by comets and asteroids over billions of years, delivered by the very kind of objects that we instinctively fear. The sky did not threaten us with water. It gave us water. And if water came from above, what else did? Researchers studying carbonaceous chondrite meteorites, some of the oldest and most chemically rich rocks in the solar system, have found not just amino acids, but nucleobases, the molecular components of DNA and RNA, the literal alphabet of genetic information, found in rocks that fell from space. We did not invent life from scratch on a barren rock. Life, or at least its deepest ingredients, appear to have a cosmic origin. We are, in the most profound and scientifically grounded sense of the phrase, children of the stars. And the massive object moving toward Earth right now? It too is made of the same ancient material. It too carries within it the chemical memory of the early solar system. It is not an alien invader. It is, in the truest sense, a distant relative. A piece of the same original story. A messenger from the beginning of time, still traveling, still carrying its ancient cargo across the dark ocean of space. The question is not whether we should fear it. The question is whether we are wise enough and humble enough to listen to what it carries. So what do we do with all of this? Because knowledge without application is just beautiful noise. And the kind of knowledge we have been exploring in this video, the kind that connects ancient wisdom to modern science, that links the movement of massive objects in deep space to the deepest questions of human existence, that kind of knowledge deserves more than just admiration. It deserves to be lived, so let us bring it down to earth. Quite literally. The first and perhaps most important shift you can make is this. Learn to sit with uncertainty without collapsing into fear. This is harder than it sounds. The human mind is wired for certainty. It craves resolution, closure, definitive answers. And when something as vast and uncontrollable as a massive object moving through space enters your awareness, the mind's first instinct is to either dismiss it completely or spiral into anxiety. But there is a third option. And the wisest traditions in human history all point toward it. Presence, not denial, not panic. Pure, grounded, open presence with what is, without needing it to be different than it is. The Stoic philosophers practiced this daily. They called it premeditatio malorum, the deliberate contemplation of difficulty, not to frighten themselves, but to dissolve the power that fear holds over an unprepared mind. By calmly considering what could go wrong, they made themselves unshakable when reality actually shifted. You can practice this today. Simply sit quietly for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what in my life feels uncertain right now? What am I avoiding looking at because it feels too large, too uncontrollable, too overwhelming? Look at it, name it. Let it exist in your awareness without immediately trying to fix it or escape it. You will find, almost every time, that the act of looking directly at the thing you fear reduces its power over you dramatically. The second insight is this. Reconnect with the scale of things. One of the most quietly transformative things a human being can do is spend time genuinely contemplating the size of the universe. Not as an intellectual exercise, not as a way to feel small and insignificant, but as a way to recalibrate, to remember that the problems, which feel crushing at 9 in the morning, the emails, the arguments, the financial pressures, the social anxieties, exist within a context so vast and so ancient that they are, in the deepest sense, held by something much larger than themselves. Go outside tonight and look up. Really look. Find one star, just one, and hold your gaze on it. That light left its source years ago. Decades. Some of those points of light are so distant that the light reaching your eyes right now began its journey before you were born, before your parents were born, before this civilization existed. And yet here it is, arriving, finding your eyes, crossing the impossible distance to land on the retina of one conscious, breathing, wondering human being on a small blue planet in an unremarkable corner of one galaxy among hundreds of billions. That is not nothing. That is everything. The third practice is perhaps the simplest and the most profound. Pay attention to what is arriving in your own life right now. Because just as the universe sends massive objects moving through space on trajectories that will eventually intersect with other things, life sends people, opportunities, challenges, and awakenings moving through time on paths that will eventually intersect with yours. Nothing arrives without consequence. Nothing arrives without carrying something. The question the ancient astronomers asked about objects in the sky is the same question the wisest human beings ask about everything that enters their lives. Not, why is this happening to me? But what is this bringing? And what is it asking me to become? That single shift in perspective, from victim to student, from threatened to curious, is perhaps the most powerful transformation available to a human mind. And it costs nothing. It requires no special knowledge, no rare gift, no extraordinary circumstance. It only requires the willingness to look up. We began with those words. And now, having traveled through ancient observatories and Stoic philosophy, through the chemistry of asteroids and the biological legacy of cosmic impacts, through the mathematics of curved space-time and the quiet wisdom of civilizations that watched the sky long before we did. We return to them with different eyes. Something is coming, and it always has been. That is the deepest truth this video has been building toward. The universe is not static. It has never been static. It is a living, moving, endlessly unfolding process, and we are not watching it from the outside. We are inside it. We are of it. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a dying star. Every molecule of water that moves through you may have arrived on this planet, riding a comet through the ancient darkness. You are not separate from what moves through the cosmos. You are what the cosmos looks like when it becomes conscious enough to wonder about itself. And that changes everything about how we meet what is coming. Fear sees a massive object heading toward Earth and contracts. It builds walls. It looks away. It scrolls past the discomfort and reaches for distraction. But wisdom, the kind that has been earned through thousands of years of human contemplation and suffering and breakthrough, wisdom does something different. It opens. It looks directly at the approaching thing, whatever it is, and it asks the oldest and most powerful question available to a conscious mind. What is this here to teach me? Not every approaching thing is a destroyer. History has shown us, written it in the very fossil record beneath our feet, that what looks like an ending is often a beginning wearing a disguise. The impact that ended the dinosaurs wrote the first sentence of the human story. The darkest winters in Earth's history preceded explosions of new life so extraordinary that scientists still struggle to fully explain them. The universe has a pattern, and the pattern is this: disruption precedes transformation. Always, without exception. So whatever is coming, whether it is an object in the sky, a change in your personal life, a shift in the world around you, meet it with the posture of someone who has studied the long story of this planet and drawn the only reasonable conclusion available. We are still here. We have always found a way. And the universe, in all its vastness and indifference and breathtaking complexity, has somehow, against all odds, produced beings capable of love, curiosity, courage, and wonder. Do not waste that. Look up. Pay attention. Stay curious. And remember that the same cosmos that is sending something massive in our direction also sent the light that is reaching your eyes tonight from stars that burned out before humanity existed. You are the universe becoming aware of itself. And whatever is coming, you were made for this moment.